Welcome to the Grow Your Business and Grow Your Wealth podcast with Gary Helt. Gary is an expert in helping business owners put together a plan that will provide a better future for their businesses, themselves, and their families. On the podcast, Gary interviews other professionals who share his vision, and together they share secrets and strategies any business owner can use to build a better financial foundation for your business and your life.
Hey, welcome back to the podcast. This week, my guest is Jon Statham, and he is the CEO of State of Harmony Music. Welcome, Jon.
Hi, how are you?
So, Jon, tell us how did you you're the music man. How did you get into music? Where did it come from?
Oh gosh, well, I was raised in a musical family. I was the last of four kids, so I think they might not have expected me, but they welcomed me, which was great. And I remember growing up, and it was just like people just sang and played instruments. So I thought, wow, this is what this planet is like. People just sing here. This is great.
Right.
I found out, growing up that that's not the case, and how fortunate I was. But I got into music. I started. Here's the thing. It's kind of mysterious to me that somebody that came up playing music in bars and every kind of venue imaginable, and then moving into producing for artists and other bands and things like that, would find himself squarely in sonic branding and writing jingles and custom music for businesses. But I guess at the same time, it makes perfect sense, because I'm not some savant, or I'm not some ivory tower worker that has no interaction with people. I performed for a vast variety of audiences and different types of publics, biker bars, conventions, high-end restaurants, state fairgrounds. So, and then also in producing music, you want to get the desired response that the artist is looking for. That is, what note is played where, on what instrument, what sort of rising sonic effect is going to create the desired momentum or excitement. And then certainly the persuasive power of writing and recording jingles for companies, that gives me insight into how people respond to sound. People don't go around thinking, oh, I need music, but it's such a part of our life, Gary, that we almost forget about it. But if we walked into a store, walked into like Macy's or something, and there was no music, we'd be like, oh, this place is dead. Like, what is going on? It affects even how you view things, how you see things. All of that, it's an essential part of life, hearing and sound. And so there are certain bends in pitch and certain verbal or sonic influctuations that achieve certain desired results, and these are universal to all types of people. And so that's the subject we deal in with regards to coming up with brand's sound.
Right. Can you go into that a little bit more, in the fact that, did you help people in writing their jingles and selecting the right music to go along with those jingles, or even the right music to play at Macy's or wherever? What is it? I guess let's start out. What is it about that fascinates you, that makes you want to do that?
Well, number one, I love knowing what makes people tick. It's just a very interesting thing to me, because I'm interested in people ultimately, and how people react to music, what makes them emotional, what makes them do certain things. So I guess with regard to a company or a brand, it would start with maybe their slogan, or what slogan are they currently using? Like I think of Cadillac, and they had the one slogan that was breakthrough.
Right.
Musicians and artists, we look for certain words that will trigger certain melodic ideas or be inspiration, and breakthrough it's such a great word, for that kind of thing. And that sort of that word in particular, with regard to Cadillac, It inspires a high energy, a high amount of power, a lot of self-determination and independence. And so you want music that would invoke those things. Me, if I was behind that campaign, I think they actually, for that campaign, they did a combination of writing certain music or having music written, but they also, I think they licensed either something by the Who or Zeppelin or something like that, which is another wise choice. If you can afford that, great.
Yeah.
That's some of the big companies. I know the Who doesn't come cheap, so
Right.
just inside info from that camp. But,
Right.
yeah, but they were really smart about it to use both campaigns or both approaches in that campaign.
So do you, when you're working with a company, in trying to help them come up with their jingle or whatever, are you helping them, write the message, or is it that they kind of come to you with the message and then you help them find the right music to go along with it, or both?
Most of the time, the company or brand knows what their message is. If they didn't, I mean, I would be willing to help. I have crafted a couple of those that would involve me actually going to the business or going to their headquarters and getting a real feel for the company.
Right.
But ultimately, a lot of companies already know their message or already know the kind of identity they want to put out there. What do they want people to feel about the company, and what are their core values? We did a project for Libman, which produces a lot of cleaning supplies and brooms and stuff like that. Great company. And the message is clean, and that they're American made. And so we fashioned something, along those lines. And we used there's parts of their slogan in the song itself. But I mean, when I think of Libman, there are always bright colors. I think of a light yet energetic feel,
Right.
and something, patriotic in there too. Maybe put some strings in there as well, maybe a French horn. But they ultimately went with, we did the same thing for different markets. Like we did a more urban one for the cities, and then we did Midwest, which was more, country/rock. So, different markets. If you're a nationwide brand, then you're going to want different types of music in different areas.
Now, when you're kind of picking the music and things like that, are you trying to leverage the emotion that you're trying to revoke out of somebody because of the music? Is
Yeah,
that what's doing it, or?
absolutely. Well, we start with the brand, what they're all about, we try to distill it into a wording that, I mean, if they don't have it already,
Right.
Distill it into a wording that absolutely fills them with joy and fills them with the purpose that they originally had when they founded the company or when they took on the job. I mostly deal with the CEOs because they're the ones that sort of have the vision, and they can they think in broader survival concepts, let's say, for the company, not just someone, taking a check. And there are many fine people in marketing departments that I've worked with, some amazing people. But usually the CEO, it starts with them or the founder. So we get what emotion we want, the emotion that they want their public to feel about their company. Pride, cleanliness, what good attributes or values they want to put forth, and we build the music around that.
Gotcha. Now, are you able to talk about kind of the ROI when it comes to adding music to, to something for branding and so forth?
Well, I can say that it's going to be more important. It is hard to forecast, but I will say that, with the rise of smart speakers, Alexa, and I think Google has one as well. They're in more and more households. I think in 2025, there's expected to be 400 million in the world. And, there's more of an emphasis on sound. And people are, the same way that Amazon made it easy to buy something with one click. You're going to have voice purchases are going to be easier and easier over a lot of these devices. And so if you have a highly developed and recognized visual identity for your brand, it's not going to be an advantage in the age of smart speakers, because in audio only interactions, you need a sonic identity. It seems to be a thing now, even if, like, let's say if you're a software manufacturer or a maker of a device or something, to know that something has been done, you need a sort of signal. You need a sort of some sort of sound to let you know that a task has been achieved or that something is done. We need that type of acknowledgement, like,
right.
you like the dinger when something's done in the microwave. It's kind of like on that level,
Right. So, in going through this, I mean, can you give us some, I mean, you gave us a couple of examples of how adding the jingle, the music, to someone's message, has enhanced it. Can you give us, a couple others that could kind of hit home for people?
I would say a lot of food brands do this. Coca-Cola and car companies come to mind. Their iconic jingles and music-driven campaigns that they're known globally now. And let's put it this way, music and business has been around ever since ever. And
Right.
And with the big companies, it's not an afterthought. Like with Apple, they're very meticulous about selecting the music they use for product launches and for advertisements, and they're memorable, and they're very cool looking. The visuals that go with it just add to it, and it's all one very seamless communication to the public. And the aesthetics of that company, whether you're going into a store or you're seeing their commercials or hearing the music, is very impactful.
Mm-hmm. Earlier you talked about licensing.
Yeah.
When it comes to, obviously using someone's, likeness or sound or actual music itself, how do you go about, getting permission and paying for the use of that?
Well, that's not something we actually do, but I'm sure you could. I think one company you can contact is the Harry Fox Agency, and they can probably help you out. And there's probably a few other similar companies like that. Our main thing is coming up with the actual music, and one can, like if we were hired to do music for one of your companies out there, whoever we're talking to, you would either have the option of licensing it once we create it, or if you feel like very confident, you can just have a total buyout of it. But I almost always recommend people license it for a year, see how it performs, see how, do people come in your store singing the jingle? That's
Right.
That's the good thing. But as far as music licensing of famous artists, I would contact the Harry Fox Agency.
Gotcha. Okay. I guess, you talked a little bit too about, how some of the Coca-Colas and the Apples and the big boys and stuff like that, how lots of times their business and products are associated with music.
Yeah.
And you were talking about with the smart speakers and stuff like that, how that's going to keep going. Where do you kind of see the trend of this going, with music and business? I mean, obviously, you're on hold, you have the hold music, you have, I mean, so there is a ton of music, in businesses besides just a jingle. But I
Yeah.
mean, where do you see this going?
Well, I think in every era, there's entrepreneurs that want to build their businesses into worldwide brands.
Hmm.
So those are always going to be around, and music has always been a part of it and will always be a part of it. And as a company or a brand gets bigger, the use of um, stock music becomes less and less effective. I think the relationship between custom music and business, it's always evolving, but with, digital transformation and social media. But, some brands are even making their own Spotify playlists. I think there's a couple car companies, definitely beer companies are doing that.
Right.
Beer and music are intrinsically linked, as
True.
someone that's played in many bars knows. But I don't see it going away. Sonic branding is and the use of music in business is definitely not going away. As long as people do business and love music, I guess we'd have to stop being human for it
Right.
to not to work anymore. And we're emotion-based beings at our best.
Hmm.
And I don't see it going away. I mean, and as digital innovation continues, we can expect to see even more and more creative and immersive ways for brands to use music to connect with our audiences.
So what advice would you have for somebody who, hasn't done this yet, that they're just kind of starting out, and looking to incorporate music with their branding or their marketing strategies?
Good question. I would say if you're looking to explore the use of custom music in your branding and marketing, the key is to be authentic, because number one, you're going to feel good about it and it's going to represent you. And and I think as everything starts from the top and goes down in a company, if the top person is in great shape and feels good about the message and the company itself, then it works its way down to everybody. But choose music that truly reflects your brand's identity and the values that you have. You consider the emotional tone you want to set and the message you want to convey. That would be my advice. And don't be afraid to try new things and innovate, but just make sure that the music really aligns with your brand persona and speaks very directly to your audience and your customers. And always respect copyright
Yeah,
and
yeah.
licensing agreements. Be
Right.
ethical.
Now, do you guys, I mean, because I think a lot of us as business owners and stuff, a lot of us, we don't know what we don't know.
Yeah.
So, when you're saying, pick the music that identifies you and stuff like that, I mean, lots of times people are going to say, oh, well, I listen to this music or that music, but that doesn't necessarily identify them. Is that something that you guys help, the owner do?
Yeah. And like I said, usually the CEO or company, they know what they're all about and they know what kind of message they are, but maybe they don't know what genre of music is going to align with that or say that so that it arrives at the listener and so that the listener has that shared vision or hears the same thing. And gets the concept of what that company's all about. So we usually will try, like, just as an introductory, at an introductory price, you could help explore what kind of, maybe it is country, maybe that's where a large section of their, public is in the Midwest or those types of areas, or that age group, or maybe it's classic rock, or maybe it's not even music at all. Maybe it's a sort of moody sort of sound. Like, let's say you were somebody like LifeLock,
Mm-hmm.
uh, identity protection. You would want something a little stirring, a little dramatic in the beginning because, the voiceover is saying, well, this statistic and this happens in every city. And then gradually at about the 30-second mark, or shorter if it's a 30-second commercial. In a 60-second commercial, maybe around 30 minutes or 30 seconds, you would have the more hopeful, kind of lighter, something that opens up the mood to, okay, there is hope, and so, and maybe only the first half of that would be some kind of moody, I guess it would be music, and not to say it's not music, but it would some kind of moody element that has a little bit of mystery and like, oh, it's kind of uncomfortable. And then all the while, the voiceover, which we do as well, would be, carrying the listener on a journey. Basically, you're telling the story of your company and what it can do for them.
Now, do you guys coming up here in the near future, do you guys got any good projects that you're working on?
Nothing I can talk about right now. I mean, we have a number of, I know you want to know out there.
Well, I want the secrets.
Yeah, we play it pretty close to the vest. If it was your company, you would appreciate that kind of candor.
Oh yeah, of course.
But yeah, there's a lot of exciting things in the works, and
That's great.
That's good. Now, where is up there? Where are you out of?
So I'm in Maryland.
Oh, okay. So you're just east of us.
Yes.
That's great.
Yep.
Yeah, it's beautiful out there.
So John, we covered a bunch of stuff here real quick. What have I not asked you that you wish I had?
I think you've covered a lot of it. I mean, we've covered just the emotional power of music, it governs, unless you're not around music at all, which I think, probably 2% of the population doesn't listen to music or place any importance on it. But it has the ability to evoke emotions that are not in any other kind of art form that can be used in business, unless you're talking visuals. But there's something about music, because it's not visual, it goes straight to the emotions. It's like someone talking to you, but in a language you aren't totally fluid in, but on some level you get it. And that, paired with really great copy by really great voiceover, it's just something that brands should absolutely take advantage of to a greater degree than they are. And I think that every once in a while, I get a business owner that says, "Oh, we don't need sonic branding or that won't work in my industry." Well, I got news for you. Sonic branding works. You don't have to believe in it.
Right.
It just, if your brand has no sound or musical signature identified with it, then it's like having a basic element of life missing. People are deaf to your business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You want to be seen and heard above your competition. So it's not going anywhere.
Right. That's for sure. So John, if people like what they hear and they would like to explore this a little bit more, how can they reach out to you?
Oh, great. Thank you. They can call us up at 310-882-1967, or they can email me at musicproduction@jonstatham.com. And that's JONSTATHAM.com, musicproduction@jonstatham.com. And let's talk about what your brand should sound like.
Sounds good. Hey, I really appreciate your time today. I think that you've definitely have opened some people's ears.
Oh, good.
To different ways of looking at branding their company, because like I said, before, so much of it is visual, and I think that the sound side of it is just as important.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed. And I'm so blessed to work in the field of music and work with individuals and with companies. It's really, I'm a blessed man.
Great. Really appreciate your time,
Gary. Thank you. And thank you, everybody.
So thank you. And this week, our guest was Jon Statham, and he's the CEO of State of the Harmony Music. And I'll see you guys next week.
49 faces looked to him in triumph. Over the last 12 months, they had each taken turns and promoted his business for a week at a time, driving over $987,342 in revenue. What if you had a network of 50 centers of influence who promoted your business every week for a year? Grab your copy of the #1 Amazon best-selling book, The Ultimate Guide to Growing Your Business with a Podcast, at 33% off the Amazon price by going to ultimatepodcastbook.com. Again, that website for 33% off the Amazon price is ultimatepodcastbook.com.